Hello, Gemini. Welcome to Soul Good. It's a blessing and pleasure to be here with you. Please trust that whenever you have found yourself here, there are likely to be messages within the contents of this video for you. I am so excited to dive into these messages for you, Gemini. Oh my Lord. As soon as I started tapping into your energy, the messages have been flooding in nonstop. Every time I think I've gotten it all, more and more and more kept coming in. So this is probably going to be a really interesting one. Whoever you are, Gemini, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. So I want to start off by sharing some confirmation. These are just little pings that you may resonate with that can be confirmation for you, letting you know you're in the right place, as it were. Use your discernment and take what resonates with you. But just know that even if some of these things don't resonate, that doesn't mean there isn't anything here for you. So California or New York could be significant for you, or West Coast, East Coast. You could be seeing the number 3 repeating. You could resonate with being an empath or a highly sensitive person. The Lion King, the movie, could be significant for you, or Lion King, some kind of connection there could be significant. Maybe you have a lot of Leo in your chart. You could have your Mars in Gemini also, I'm getting, which is a little bit interesting for me. That's not something that would typically come through. Also, for whoever, there could be someone listening that Mount Eden and New Zealand are significant. So I don't know who that's for. I'm not sure if you're someone listening from New Zealand. If so, hello from the US. Thank you for being here. But for some reason that was standing out. It does tie back to a song I'm going to share later, but I have never thought to look into it at all until today. So that's probably significant for someone. Now, Gemini, this message is probably going to resonate very deeply with you if you've been leaning into your spirituality or leaning into spiritual practices. So the way that I see Gemini is, and probably many other people do as well, is being this representation of obviously the twins, but the physical and spiritual self. Okay? You may have been someone who was leaning more into your physical self, your physical world. You could have been very enmeshed in your physical world. You could have been someone who was very much focused on the physical world, physical, worldly, material things. That does include relationships with people. That includes jobs, that includes finances, that includes being a parent, if that resonates with you. You could have been very, very, very focused on the physical world. As a matter of fact, you could have been someone who actually had your spirituality on the back burner, or it could have been nearly non-existent. You could even have identified with being maybe an atheist or something of that nature, right? Really not having any strong ties to spirituality. And if you did, forgive me for using it this way, but it's just how it's coming through. You could have been someone who was like spiritually flaky. Okay, so you could have dabbled in it when you wanted to, or when you got curious, or maybe you prayed when things were going south, stuff like this. Okay, so there's this, if you did have some kind of spiritual practice, it feels inconsistent, or it feels like a convenience type of thing. Okay. But more recently, you could be someone who has been leaning into spirituality or spiritual practices, praying a lot more, building a relationship with God. You could have even been listening to Christian hip hop or Christian music. You could have had a very big pull to that genre. I'm not necessarily speaking of worship in the way that we think of it from a church setting. You could be someone who's been leaning into what I call Jesus jams. So take that how it resonates with you. And as you've been focusing on yourself and your spirituality or your spiritual practices, you could have found yourself being mocked or scoffed at for wanting to develop this relationship, for leaning into it, for wanting to build with God, for your love of God. And this is something, again, that I don't feel like has necessarily been lifelong. And if it has, it's been very spotty, it's been very flaky, it's been very inconsistent. I also was getting putting on the armor of God. So that's Ephesians 6:10-18, I believe. That could be something that has been relevant for you, or something that maybe you take very seriously, or have grown curious about, or have been researching. Spiritual warfare actually was showing up as well. So perhaps you could have found yourself in this spiritual warfare of sorts, and maybe that was the trigger, if you will, for leaning more deeply into God, or some kind of spiritual warfare experience that had pulled you more towards God. I'm not sure how this may have shown up for you, but that was definitely coming up. And in addition to that, your ability for spiritual discernment, so seeing things more spiritually, hearing things more spiritually, having that discernment could have also been on the up and up, could have been increasing tremendously. I'm even getting that you may have started to hear things a lot differently. And the way that this is coming through is, for some of you, maybe when someone is speaking to you, you're able to kind of read through the lines, if you will, with whatever they're saying. You can hear things that may be true, but they're not actually speaking. Again, that comes from this more spiritual discernment, or this ability to discern in the spirit things that aren't actually obvious to your everyday average materialist or your everyday average literalist. What may be or may have been a struggle or a challenge for you is, because of this spiritual discernment, or this ability to read between the lines and see into the spirit, you could be someone who is now hearing, again, kind of hearing things differently versus hearing what you wanted to hear. We as human beings have a habit of doing this. That's certainly going to look different for everyone, but we like to hear what we want to hear versus hearing what someone is actually saying to us, or again, kind of reading between the lines and being able to discern what is actually coming forward as truth, even if the person speaking it isn't being truthful. I hope this makes sense. If you're somebody who is or does resonate with being empathic or being highly sensitive, this is probably not anything new to you. It's probably something that comes almost naturally. For example, my son and I have this conversation a lot about how there's this ability to read people like a book without even trying, or without intending to. It just kind of happens. You could have experienced, and this is probably going to be for a specific person or a few people specifically, but you could have experienced being chased by God. And I don't mean that in a way that's weird or creepy or scary, okay? When you think about it in regard to the Bible, where Christ is speaking of the parable of the 99, the shepherd will leave the 99 to go after the one who has gone astray. That's what I mean by being chased by God. You could have been very far from any kind of spiritual practice, or very far from God. You may have even said there is no God, or you could have believed Christ to be a myth, or God to be fake, or maybe you've even mocked God at certain times, Sky Daddy or whatever the case may be, and found yourself being chased by God, or God coming after you and bringing you back, right? Drawing you back to him, drawing you back to Christ. And I just want to clarify and reiterate, I'm not speaking of Christ or God in the dogmatic religious sense. I'm coming at this from a more Christian mystic perspective. I want to make that very, very clear, because I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of trauma and wounding and programming around the church, and it can repel people very quickly. So I just want to make that very clear. I do not look at things from that perspective. So I'm also getting this message through this song called He Lives in You by someone called, I believe it's ḽeBO. I could be saying that wrong. Forgive me if I am. ḽeBO-M or ḽeBO-M, L-E-B-O, and the letter M. And the version that was coming through for you is the Mount Eden Lion King remix. I will link that in the notes below for you if you want to check it out. It's actually really good. But the part of that song that was coming through is He lives in you, He lives in me, He watches over everything we see. Into the water, into the truth, in your reflection, He lives in you. It's giving me chills because it ties in beautifully, perfectly, masterfully with everything that I already had coming in for you. And this could be something where God has been working on you. God has been working with you to bring you to this space where you are realizing that Christ lives in you. Christ is not something outside of yourself. It is not this person. Christ is not a person. Christ is a being. And Christ lives in every single human being, every single person with a soul. Christ lives within them, in their heart. And this may be something that you are learning or are coming to understand. You may even be someone who has explored or recently discovered the works of Rudolf Steiner, G.G. Jung, Douglas Gabriel. That could be significant for you, okay? And the other thing that I was getting here is this energy of like pretending to be a king or queen with a paper crown. So what this means is that you could have been someone, again, who is very much entrenched in the physical world, in the material world, or in your lower egoic drives. Walking around as though you are a god, right? You are a king, you are a queen. And that is, it comes from our ego. There's a sense of entitlement. There's a sense of, I'm a king, I'm a queen, I'm a god with a little g, by the way. You could have been existing from that place and, you know, pointing your nose up in the air. And I find this to be quite fascinating because the message that came in after that is that you have perhaps found yourself in the space where you remove that crown from your head because you've realized that Christ is king. And that could have occurred through this power of Christ's love, through feeling the power, experiencing the power of Christ's love. And I actually got this message of the power of Christ's love could have brought you to your knees. This is going to be something incredibly personal. You can try to explain it all you want. You can try to articulate it. You can, like, there's no way that you could explain this away. And it's even harder to articulate. especially if you're trying to have a conversation about it with someone who's never experienced it themselves. But this could have been something so profound to you that it brought you to your knees, that it brought you to this realization that you've been running around playing, pretending to be this king or queen, realizing that you really don't have the power. You really aren't a god, that there is something much, much greater than you calling the shots. There are forces much, much greater than you at work every single day. And again, for some of you, this may have come through this type of spiritual warfare. Perhaps you saw these evil, negative, dark forces and turned to the light. That feels like, for whoever that's for, I mean, that could have been a very traumatic experience. But it could have been the catalyst. It could have been the thing that pushed you to Christ. Okay. I also got that you could have been having conversations with angels. Now, that could just mean that maybe you have been praying a lot, but it could also mean that you actually would resonate and would claim or would state that you've had conversations with angels. And to be quite frank, we all have a guardian angel anyways. So you're never alone. There's constantly an angel with you at all times. So take all of this how it resonates with you, because this is a pretty exceptional experience to have. This is pretty extraordinary. It's incredible. And it is likely something that is very, very personal, likely something that, is a very intimate experience. And it's not easily explained away. It's not easy to understand, again, especially by those who have never had it themselves, which brings me back to, again, experiencing being mocked or scoffed at, made fun of, bullied, whatever it is, as your focus has turned this direction, as your focus has been more about cultivating and developing this relationship with Christ within you, with God, however you want to look at it. I'm even getting that someone may have one of those Christian fish emblems or stickers or some kind of something. It could be on your car or like a mirror. Yeah, I'm even seeing maybe like a keychain or something, but you could even have gone so far as to now have these symbols of Christianity, these symbols of Christ or of Jesus that you didn't have before. And to someone on the outside looking in, or someone who may have, known this other version of you, you could seem like a completely different person, which I just have to say is, or seems to be, this reoccurring theme within the collective. Okay, so you're not alone in that. Just maybe the circumstances are a bit different. So let's dive into the cards. Let's see what else wants to come through for you. I'm sure this is going to be phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us please what messages would like to be shared with Gemini today. Why are they here? What do they need to know, please? Thank you. Thank you. All right, perfect. So we have here, yes, come on, you cannot make this up. The initiation, rite of passage, crossing the threshold. Look at all of that darkness on that card. And look at the other side of that passageway, where it's full of color, it's bright, it's beautiful. It's coming through very strongly that you may have experienced facing some darkness, dark forces. Maybe you experienced a dark night of the soul. You may have had to come face to face with some of your own demons. You could have had to come face to face with certain lies. You could have clearly seen where maybe you've been manipulated, or something of that nature. But I definitely feel like all of it was drawing you to that light. All of it has been drawing you to cross this threshold, to step into this new way of being, right? Again, for some, I can't get away from it. I keep being brought back to turning towards the light because you've experienced darkness or some kind of spiritual warfare. The ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. Yeah, there's a feeling of experiencing something like you've never experienced before. Even if you look at this from the perspective of our bodies, we house our soul, our spirit, right? We carry these forces within us. And when we pass from this world, we leave behind this physical vessel, this shell, as it were, right? Some people call it a meat suit, however you want to look at it, right? And this cracked open energy, I feel, again, you are living very much in your physical world, in the material world, and something happened that cracked you open to bring forth that more spiritual aspect, to bring forth your soul, to bring forth your spirit, to bring forth Christ within you, to bring forth the light within you. And I don't think this has been easy at all. At all. I'm not saying that there haven't been parts of this experience that have been easier than others, but this is not an easy experience to have, being cracked open. It's not easy to go through this level of initiation where you're experiencing darkness. The thing that you don't hear as often with regard to darkness and evil and negativity and spiritual warfare and things like this is you not only come to see darkness and evil in the world, but you also have to address it and recognize it and reconcile it within yourself. You have to come face to face with the darkness within you. It is really, it's a whole different kind of experience. It's a whole different conversation that a lot of people are not ready to have. So I am not going to sit back and pretend like whatever it is you've been through, Gemini, however this has unfolded for you, has been a walk in the park. Because no, that is not how this happened. That is not how I'm picking up on this. I'm not saying that that's impossible. I'm not putting limits on God. But the way that this is coming through is, this has not been easy. You have Priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? I'm very drawn to the fact that in both of these pictures, both of the beings on these cards have their arms kind of out, right? Their arms are out, open, right? Their vital organs are exposed, which tells me that you may be now in this place where you have this level of Godfidence, this level of confidence that you didn't have before. There's a level of, I'm walking with God and now I'm moving through the world in a much different way than I was before. Body language will tell you when a person is fearful or when they feel threatened, when they feel unsafe, when they don't feel powerful or confident, they will cover, oftentimes, their major organs, their heart, their lungs, their throat, these sorts of things, right? But both of the beings on these cards are wide open. Notice the confirmation on this card as well with the two lions there. Just saying, Christ can be seen as a lion. Think Lion of Judah. You can also look at the work of C.S. Lewis, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Aslan is a symbol or is a representation of Christ. So you, I feel, Gemini, are stepping into or have stepped into this new way of being, new way of existing. And I feel that you may now have a different direction that you are moving in your life. You have a new path, a new purpose. Maybe you feel that you have what some would call an anointing. Maybe you resonate with feeling chosen, right? As though God has this purpose for you, this plan for you, and you can feel it. Even if you aren't necessarily sure where it's taking you or what it means or how it's going to unfold or how you're going to get there, you may just feel like God has you covered. God has a purpose for you. God has not left you alone, even though you tried to run as far away from him as you could. You may realize, oh, there's something much greater going on here. You may now feel guided by, led by Christ, guided by God, led by the angels. If you look at this card, there's even wings. It looks almost like it's a part of her dress or, her veil or cloak or whatever it is she's got on. But the way that I'm seeing this is very much like you're surrounded by your guardian angel. You've got Christ at your back. You've got these wings, as though God is preparing you to take flight. How are you being called to step up and lead? And I know it says priestess here, but whether you're a male or female doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can be a man listening to this, and God can be calling you. God can have this anointing, this purpose over your life, and God can be asking you to take flight, to step up and lead. And that doesn't mean that you have to become a priest or a pastor or a minister or a preacher. Like it doesn't mean that you have to step into some space of like religious authority. Okay, that's not how I'm feeling this. This feels like living by example. This feels like planting seeds without fear. This feels like embodying Christ consciousness, living in a Christ-like way. And for some of you, this could be taking people by surprise, because you could have been somebody who was like savage, I'm getting very Queen of Swords kind of energy, where you ain't afraid to say what's on your mind and be brutal about it and whatever. And now all of a sudden, you could be minding your words, minding your attitude, minding how you're carrying yourself, minding your thoughts, minding do you know what I'm saying? Taking responsibility for how you're moving through the world. And it could be as simple as that. But shocking people left and right because they're not used to seeing you like this. They don't know this version of you. And the wild thing about it is that you probably feel more yourself than you've ever felt before. Ooh. Let's see. What else for Gemini, please? Thank you. Thank you. Did y'all see that card take flight? Just saying. I've just got to say, okay, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not criticizing or judging anyone who has come to Christ through maybe a more dogmatic or religious avenue. I just have to say that. I'm not here to judge you. You walk your path, sweet. So whatever that is for you, do your thing. But as someone who really struggled with dogmatic Christ, or the portrayals of Christ through dogmatic religion, and as someone who feels wholeheartedly that Christ chased, I feel that Christ chased me down. I really do feel that way. And learning and getting to know Christ from the more Christian mystic perspective, I am so excited for you. Truly. It really floods my heart with so much joy and so much happiness for you. It really does, because it is a glorious, glorious space to be in. There is no place I would rather be than having this relationship with Christ, knowing Christ the way I do outside of that dogmatic perspective. So I just had to say that. Like, congratulations. Oh, ha! Okay, so congratulations, Gemini. And look, Six of Wands, victory, success, congratulations. I mean, you cannot make this up. Oh my Lord. How does this go? Yeah, we go like this, I feel. And here's the thing. Here's that paper crown energy I was getting. King of Wands in the reverse. This is being overconfident. This feels like that paper crown energy. This is realizing, oh, it's not me. No. My confidence doesn't come from there. I know better now. And I feel like you can resonate with this, which is why I'm sharing it, to really drive home what this feels like. I used to be someone who was like, I don't need nobody, right? I'm good by myself. I don't need nothing, whatever. And that's so not me. It is not true me. That was a mask I was wearing. That was coming from my wounding, my trauma, my lower egoic drives. Okay, where I had to wear this, I've got it all together. I've got it, I got it. And having to eventually, right, through my own spiritual unfolding, take off that paper crown and recognize, no, Christ is king. Even if you look at her on the card here, she's got her arms raised up as if to praise God, right? It's like, it doesn't come from me. It comes through me by way of Christ, by way of God. That's it. So I feel like whoever this is for, you have been through this amazing experience, and there's no going back. You can't just, whoever I'm talking to, you can't just forget this and just leave it all behind and go back. It just doesn't work. You just can't. It's impossible. And why would you want to? It's not this religious experience, because that doesn't have the same, it's not the same. So we have the Seven of Swords here in the reverse. If you have Taurus in your chart, you may want to check out those messages as well, especially if it's one of your big three. But the Seven of Swords showing up here is moving through life different. You're not moving through life the same way. You may have been rethinking everything about your life. Again, there's a feeling of, I'm minding how I'm speaking. I'm minding my interactions with people. I'm showing up in situations and circumstances, in connections differently. This is living life different. It's not the same. It is not. And how could it be? It couldn't be. Because once Christ comes in and grabs a hold of your heart, you're never the same. You're just not. 5 of Wands in the reverse. Yep, not in competition. You may have been somebody who was very competitive. You may have had a lot of comparisonitis. You may have been at war with yourself, within your own mind, within your own being. You could have been very judgy. But now there's more of a, I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. Ooh, throat chakra. I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. That could have been a hard realization to come to, realizing that you were trying to compete with everyone and living your life through comparison with other people, and realizing the impacts that has, how much that can negatively impact how you experience the life, what that can do to you as a person, what it can do to your heart. I feel like there may have been a lot of truth moments that you've had with yourself, maybe between you and God during prayer or meditation or something of that nature, where you've had to realize, wow, that was really something that was forming this dark cloud over my life all the time, feeling like I need to be in competition with everyone else. And realizing actually you've been in competition with you, right? Your physical self that you've been giving all of this attention to was actually in competition with this spiritual self within you, this jousting back and forth within you, which overflowed out into your physical reality. And you were then in focusing that outwardly versus looking inward. I hope this is making sense. But now again, coming to this realization, you're only in competition with yourself. I'm actually hearing, what is that song? bb Rexa, Me, Myself, and I? Or is it G-Eazy? I don't know. Whoever it is. I'm hearing me, myself, and I. Like it's me against me and me. Like, that's it. Also with this 5 of Wands, there's a respecting of differences. There's a respecting of, you've chosen to walk this path. Great. But also realizing you don't have to walk that path with them. You don't have to hold their hand. You can walk your path. That's wonderful. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to make you walk a different path or try to convince you to walk a different path. This could look something like wanting to embody Christ consciousness, wanting to be this living example of Christ-like energy, of maybe you've tried to live more Christ-like, and some of the relationships you had in the past, groups, friendship circles, certain environments, or whatever it may be, are doing the opposite of that. Okay, that's great if that's what you want to do, but I don't have to take part. I don't have to support it. I don't have to be around it. I hope this makes sense. Ten of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles showing up here in this reverse position. There's a level here of, like I said before, Godfidence, or maybe it's even a certain level of fearlessness around letting stuff go, of, starting over from scratch, or building things up from nothing. There's a real sense of starting over. There's a real sense of leaving behind the old dreams, leaving behind the old life, the old things that you were trying to build upon, because there's a realization that it's not in alignment with you. It's not in alignment with who you truly are. at this point. It's no longer serving you, or it will no longer serve you to try to continue to build upon that, which I love that the Six of Wands follows that Ten of Pentacles in the reverse, because there's this sense of, I'm not building this for me, or whatever I do that becomes a success doesn't come from me. It's not something that I myself can build. It comes from God, right? The glory is God's. It's not an earthly king, right? It's not me pretending to be king, me pretending to be queen. It's not an earthly king, earthly queen victory. It comes from God. The grace of God. Again, she looks like she is praising God. I know that's not the typical, I know that's not typically how we would perceive the Six of Wands, but it is how it's coming through. Justice. Oh my good cuz, I just heard. I just heard the way, the truth, the life, justice coming through. And that's the truth. I'm hearing the fear of God. However this is unfolded for you, Gemini, it has completely shifted your life. Completely shifted your life. It's so powerful for that card to come out. Again, so because, I mean, this major arcana is showing up after just speaking about how it's not coming from that earthly king. It's bigger than that. It's greater than that. Fear of God. The way, the truth, the life. Forces much bigger at play, and realizing that. For some of you, there is this cause and effect with justice, again, taking responsibility for how you're moving through the world, and realizing if you're not showing up, we'll say if you're not coming correct, there are consequences for that. And for some of you, maybe you've experienced that, right? There's also a feeling with this justice card coming out of, I'm going to let God handle it. Turning it over to God. Let God be the judge. Oh my good Lord. Okay. More messages for Gemini, please. Surrender, restoration, trust. Come on. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. That could be your moon phase. Hold on, you guys. I have to get this card. This could be your moon phase, though. You could have a waning crescent moon. So Saturn flew onto the floor. Discipline, obstacles, boundaries. So a couple of things I want to point out that are really resonating with Saturn coming out. First of all, Saturn is known or often referred to as the Lord of Karma. So there's that whole, I'm really watching what I'm saying. I'm really being mindful and taking responsibility for how I'm showing up in the world. There's also that energy of being more disciplined or more devoted to what you now believe. And with Saturn, there's this establishment of those boundaries. Oh my Lord. I just heard Pisces. So Pisces could be part of your chart. It could be heavy in your chart. or someone in your life could be a Pisces. Again, with the fish, I mean, just saying, we have medium Cheli, midheaven, direction, reputation. Again, the direction of your life has changed. Your compass, the way you were operating before, your north could have been that away. And from where you now find yourself, your compass could be pointing that way. And the thing of it is based on what you've experienced, wholeheartedly, I feel you don't give two nothings about what people think. It really doesn't matter what anyone thinks. Like, keep your opinions to yourself. I really don't care. Bye. That's what this feels like. I'm doing me. You do you. Let's leave each other alone. I'm sending you so much love. I'm praying for you. I'm going to be over here. That is what that feels like. 100%. 100%. Don't care about what you think. Don't really care. I don't care what you think you know about me. This could be a complete wipe the slate clean for you. Final messages for Gemini, please. Such a powerful reading. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to unput these. Yep, all right. Crocodile in the out of balance position. You may have been spending a lot of time on your own. That could have been, we'll say, involuntary. I feel as though if you're somebody who has felt a little bit more isolated or set apart from, this is likely divinely orchestrated so that you can lean into your trust more, your faith more, so that you can surrender more, but also so that you can fill your well, so that you're not just giving a lot of this energy to others or absorbing a lot of the energies of others, especially if you're somebody who resonates with, being an empath or an HSP. This has likely been for you. I'm getting fear. That could have been very hard. You could have or could, how do I say? You could have or could experience this, a little bit of this fearful energy showing up, being perhaps isolated or feeling separated, feeling maybe like you don't have a lot of external support. But again, this I feel is helping you to build up your trust in God, to build up your faith, but also to restore some of your energy, to allow you to build that up and to focus it more on yourself, more on your spiritual practices. We have the deer in the out of balance position as well, again with that Taurus energy coming through. This deer showing up in the out of balance, however, I feel like it's going to require a lot of grace on your part. This whole experience has probably required a lot of it already, but as you continue to move forward, I feel as though it's only going to ask that much more of you. It's going to ask you to give yourself a lot of grace, to be very gentle with yourself, to forgive yourself. That's a big one. That the way that came through very like it had a lot of oomph behind it. Okay, so to definitely give yourself some grace and forgive yourself. I do feel that part of this forgiveness, part of this grace may come from whatever guilt that may arise from establishing very strong boundaries and being disciplined with those boundaries, not folding on them, not caving on them. Because here's the thing, when you make certain decisions, and I probably don't have to tell you this, but when you make certain decisions for you, and other people are accustomed to being able to traipse through whenever they want, they get a little upset. And some can get just mean, can get very nasty about it. So any guilt that might arise from that, give yourself grace, forgive yourself, let yourself work through that. Where is that coming from? Why are you feeling guilty? What is triggering that within you? Allow yourself to work through it. Don't be super hard on yourself, critical of yourself. What you are going through is huge. It's massive. Okay? So don't be so hard on yourself. And also we have here the crow in the out of balance position as well. Okay, so here's the thing about this energy. I feel for you choosing this path, and as I shared earlier, you may have been mocked, scoffed at, with it falling beneath this reputation energy, this medium Cheli energy, this change in direction that I'm picking up on. It feels as though people may come out of the woodwork with, oh, this is their reputation, this is what they did in the past, this is what they were doing a month ago. It doesn't really matter, okay, however long it may have been. These individuals are attacking a version of you that you no longer align with. This is a version of you that I feel is being laid to rest or has been laid to rest. But there may be those that you would have never thought would come after you who do. This may come from the feathers you ruffled when you decided to choose a path that they are not comfortable with. And it says a whole lot more about them than about you, of course. But I feel the reason this is coming up, and even we spoke on up here with the deer and the Saturn energy with boundaries and discipline, it feels like that's why that came first. To have these boundaries and to have the discipline to not let these energies come in and distract you, pull your focus away from what's important. It feels as though these people are coming in trying to reel you back in, right? Trying to get you to behave or to react in ways that you had previously, trying to prove a point. You get what I'm saying? Where you're like, I'm turning over a new leaf. This is the path I'm walking now. And these individuals come in trying to poke and trigger you and trying to get you to fall back into old behaviors, to react in ways that you would have previously, to prove you didn't change. Do not let these people distract you. Do not let them get to you. That could absolutely be a form of spiritual warfare. And the thing of it is, when you choose to align with the Christ wave, when you choose to align with Christ consciousness, there will be forces coming out of the woodwork. Forces will be whispering in the ears of those who know you and even those who don't, attempting to use them to sway you, to distract you, to deter you, okay, to stop you. Honestly, it is to stop you, to turn you right back around. Those forces don't want you realizing what you're truly capable of, don't want you stepping into the purpose that God has over your life. They don't want you realizing how powerful you are when you acknowledge Christ within you and you place Christ on the throne of your heart. This is something that I've heard Douglas Gabriel speak on quite a bit. He has an incredible channel on YouTube, Wealth of Knowledge. I believe Gigi Young has also spoke on this to some extent on her YouTube channel, and this comes from the work of Steiner. So if those may be avenues that you want to explore, if you have not already, but I mean, you have to understand, people run around talking about following Jesus and how it's supposed to be like butterflies and bunnies and rainbows. And while it can be absolutely magical at times, and it can be glorious, and it can be this incredible, amazing experience, it also is really challenging. And even if you read the Bible at a very surface level, which is not its intention, if you read it very literally, which is not its intention, but even if you read it very literally, Christ says, they hated me before they hated you, and they hate you because you love me. Okay? So please do remember that. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Keep going. It will be so worth it. And anyone who tries to deter you, distract you, or stop you, keep those boundaries firm and strong. Know that you're not alone. You have a guardian angel with you every moment of every day. Never leaves you. You're never, ever alone. So please do remind yourself of that. Not only that, but Christ is within you. So not only does your guardian angel never leave you, but Christ never leaves you either. Christ is within you, okay? Gemini, this has been incredible. I have loved every second of this, every single second. And I pray that something here has been valuable for you, has provided confirmation or clarity. I pray that something here has given you courage, strength, has buoyed your faith. It's been amazing. Thank you so, so much for being here with me. I'm sending you so much love and the biggest of hugs. Please, please, please keep going. We need more individuals who are unlocking that Christ consciousness within them and living it. So totally supporting you, cheering you on 100%. Take care of your growing, evolving, loving, beautiful, courageous, strong soul. Peace be with you and within you. And I hope to see you in our next chat. Bye.